Hey guys, this is a video that I have been meaning to do for a very long time. So I posted like over a year ago how I passed my Arkansas real estate exam, and I promised you guys that I would do a follow-up a year after, and that did not happen. So my apologies to you. This is gonna be a new video for us. I'm gonna go over all of the things that I learned my first year. I'm gonna talk about the most important part about being a real estate agent, which is goal setting and how you'll get your leads and new clients. And then I'll also kind of touch on listings, which means like selling the house and representing the seller on the house as well. So thank you guys so much for being patient. You know, my last video was so long. We're gonna get a little bit more organized, and we're just gonna kind of go through all of the material as quickly as possible. I am really blessed because I'm here in my new office in the Keller Williams Realty office here off Kendall in Little Rock. That's where I work. So many things are different now since the last video that I posted. I am an agent at Keller Williams. My name changed. I went back to Chambers, my maiden name. So it's like, you know, I'm back to Casey, and just loving life, really having the best year ever, honestly. And a huge part of that is because I found real estate and I'm doing something that I'm really passionate about and love. And so this video is just to encourage anybody who might be thinking about getting into real estate. Everybody kind of runs their business totally different, and so these are the things that have worked for me, and I hope this video helps. So again, I posted my video about how I passed my Arkansas real estate exam. You guys have been so kind to share the feedback on that. I know I got super winded because the real estate exam is a lot. Honestly, it is. If you haven't watched that video, you might not know that it took me 2 times on national and 2 times on state. I had a lot going on at the time. I was married and single now, and it was just really hard to get focused on all of the material because I don't really feel like real estate school prepped me for what was on the test. It was like when I took the test for the first time, it was like just stuff I had never seen before, and I was really big and really good on studying the materials from class and all of my notes, but it just didn't really help me. So I had to pick and choose different places to study that material from. So it really kind of, you know, that's why I made that video. I wanted to show you guys how I did it. And then when I got into real estate, it was kind of the same thing as far as like having to figure out how I was going to run my business. So Keller Williams is amazing when it comes to training and education. Our brokerage is especially good at connecting new agents with the resources that they need. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. When I was leaving my first brokerage, I was looking for a place that was going to hold me accountable for the things that I was going to be able, that were going to make me successful. And I'm just going to put it out there. If you are getting into real estate because you think it's strictly social media or, you know, photo shoots and things like that, that's not what this is. The job is calling people. It's picking up the phone. It's connecting with people. It's making relationships. It's reminding people all the time that you sell real estate. Now, I do use social media to do that, but if I don't follow up with the people who reach out to me, and never be successful. So a part of it is putting that information out there and constantly reminding people that I do sell real estate. And the other part of it is just, you know, making sure that I follow up with my leads. I start every day with a follow-up list, and it's anybody that I had a conversation with the day before. If I told them I was going to send them a property value because I asked them if they had ever thought about selling their house, I put them on my follow-up list. If I meet somebody at the gym and, you know, we exchange numbers or something like that, I put them on my follow-up list. Hey, look, girl, guy, whoever, it was great meeting you yesterday. Just want to follow up with a conversation. Here's my e-card, so that way if you do know anybody that's thinking about buying or selling, I would love to be somebody that they, you know, can be a resource for them. So it's starting a relationship by reminding people that they may not be necessarily buying or selling with you, but they need to be thinking about referrals or people that are. And it's just teaching people how to kind of work for you in a way that makes all of your relationships beneficial. So that's the big part of real estate. And people get into this business and they're shy, or they're really busy, or they're kind of introverted, or doing things like that intimidates them. And that tends to be where the struggle is, because real estate is a relationship based business and you have to be making relationships all the time. And so the other piece to it with Keller Williams is like understanding what your goals are and the actions that are going to take to get to those monetary goals. So if I say I want to make 6 figures, I want to make 100,000, how much real estate do I have to sell? I break that down to how many of those people need to be buyers versus how many of those people need to be sellers. And then what am I doing to have those conversations on a continual basis? How many buyers rep meetings am I having? How many listing appointments am I going on? So I'm kind of like, that's something I really enjoy. That's something that I love to do. So every Sunday, whether I'm here in my office or at home, I'm just constantly working back on my goals. Okay, how many appointments did I go on this week? Where do I need to pick those up on next week? If I miss some, okay, I'm ahead. How can I stay with this curve? And just constantly thinking about this is really, so there's multiple different ways to gauge where you are in real estate. You can go off of your license date, which I honestly don't think is fair to you, because you're going to spend the first 3 or 4 months after you get licensed understanding, getting to know the MLS, understanding systems is really kind of tough to, when you get started. You need to be prepared to have a couple of months where you're kind of onboarding and figuring out what's going to work for you. Don't get me wrong, still be calling, still be introducing yourself as a realtor, still be focused on trying to get the business. However, the majority of those first 3 months is going to be, should be learning systems. So that way, when you do get a client, you have the confidence to help them. So like even my very first client and my second and third client, I had the confidence to help them because I had been to every contracts class that my broker offered. I had watched other realtors talk about, I was in the office constantly, so I watched other realtors talk about things that they were going on in the market. I studied the MLS every single morning. I get on the MLS, I see what's sold, I see what's pending, I see when the open houses were gonna come up that Sunday, I see what just hit the market. So if somebody were to come to me pre-approved at 175 or 450 or whatever, I was prepared because I was just constantly on top of what was going on in the market. And right now, where we're winning at as realtors is things that go on the market as taking back they go back on the market, or there's a price reduction. Because in this market, it's so crazy for sellers that if there's a price reduction, it probably means that it was priced incorrectly or something came up. And that's where the buyers are winning right now, because those are houses that there's not so much competition. They've sat on the market for a little while and the sellers are motivated enough to get it sold to do the price reduction. So just going off of that is really important, and knowing what's going on with their different houses, so that way you can keep an eye out for your clients. So I just got into that as a habit that became part of my day. And as a first year realtor, that should become part of your day too. And even now, I check the MLS. I'm constantly watching. I'm obviously, part of my morning routine is I check my emails and see if there's anybody pending that I need to reach back out to. I set my goals for the day as far as how many calls I make. I try to get them out the way as soon as possible, because it just sets the tone for the rest of the day. You never know what's going to happen. I might get a call to go show a house in the middle of the day that I wasn't expecting to, or if I have a buyer, they might want to see a house that just hits the market. So if I get my calls out of the way, there's no excuses later on, because you really can't control what your days are going to. Well, I haven't been able to control what my days are going to look like lately, because I'm representing buyers and even representing sellers. Sometimes throughout the transaction, the appraiser might call and say, "Hey, I'm coming out tomorrow." So if you have in your calendar that you're gonna make your calls from 9 to 11 and the appraiser wants to come at 10 o'clock, well, that's a surefire way to miss your calls for the day. So that's another part of it, just, you know, getting on top of things and staying focused and not getting so bogged into, I think as first year agents, I think one of the hardest things that we have to learn is not to become so focused on the business that's already under contract, and leverage out as much of that work as possible so you can focus on the one thing that only you will be able to do. And we have a book here, you know, at Keller Williams. It's called The One Thing, and it's a great book. I highly suggest you read it. The only book that I've read more than that one this first year is this one. You know, if you're a Keller Williams agent, you know that this is like our Bible. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent book is just, it's the blueprint, honestly. It has everything that you need to be successful. Even if you're in real estate school, I highly suggest you get one. I have a limited amount. They have gifted me several because I end up going on lunches and dinners and things like that with aspiring realtors. So if you're interested in one and you would like it, I would love to send you one. I'll send it with a personal note and everything. Just email me at kaye@closedwithkaye.com and I will send you one of the copies I have. Obviously I only have like a handful, so if everybody does it, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to send those all. Well, maybe they'll give me some more, who knows. So that book is amazing. It's the prototype. It's literally how you will be successful your first year. That's a brand new one. This one is one that I just replaced because the one that I had was like, it had tabs all in it. The spine was all tore up. Our old team leader, Katie, gave me mine. So there was a lot of sentimental value in it as well, because she really kind of taught me how to like believe in myself as a real estate agent. I owe her so much. But there was like just a lot of like, you know, like everything was like highlighted and things like that. And this is just a new one that I'll probably give to somebody else. But yes, it's there. If you want to learn, if you want to get a heads up on being a real estate agent, that's what you need. Get it now. Even if you're in real estate school, get it now and start reading it, because it talks about how many appointments you need to go on. It breaks it down to math. So in theory, we wake up and we're like, okay, I've got my real estate license. Am I going to be successful? And it can be extremely intimidating. But when you break it down to just the math part of it, this is how many open houses I need to do a year. This is how many calls I need to make a day. This is how many listing appointments I need to go on a week. When you break it down to just the math and you literally just wake up and do the things, then you will be successful in this business. It might hit it, you might hit it a couple months after you get your license, but there's no way that you can fail if you go off of that system and if you stay in production. So, and that's really what happens with a lot of realtors, and that's what happened to me. So I have my goals set, my goal sheet here, and I also have this as a template. If anybody would like it, you can also email me and I will send you one. But it is a transaction tracker. You'll see the big ones are like this is basically, you can turn this into a poster and you can make it really big. I thought about doing that. I was going to do it, but I ended up just keeping this one and using it as a hand, and it's actually taped on my cabinetry. So it's a great way to figure out like what you want to do for the year. It's a great way to constantly be visualizing how many buyers are you working with, how many sellers are you working with, what's your average sale price, what's your price point. All of those things really matter. Like right now I'm finally starting to push into a higher price point, which is amazing. The average house in Arkansas sold for $150, $175 I think when I started, and then everything has just gone up so much. So right now, I still deal with a lot of houses at $150, especially listings. $175. I've gotten up into like $300,000, and then just here recently I got the largest house that I've dealt with, or that I've got under contract, which is under contract for $450. And so that was like a big thing for me, because it helped me realize that I can expand into new territories just within that first year. So you work a lot smarter and versus harder, but they all count and they all teach you something brand new. Like, I can look at this list and I'm looking at some of these addresses, and I just remember just like feeling so blessed and fortunate, and just I get to wake up every single day and do something that makes a big impact on people's lives. I get to do something that I really wanted to do, that I was just very, very, very passionate about. And it's overwhelming to have had the year that I've had, and to really just know that this is just the beginning, and this is just my first year, and I can take the mistakes that I made, and I can take the opportunities, and I can use them next year to really double or triple what I did. That's the whole goal. That's the whole plan. So, and just the only way that you can keep up with all of that is by constantly having it in front of you and constantly keeping up with your goals. And that's what that sheet is. It helps me so much. So goal setting, so important. Not just goal setting, if you wake up and say, or if you become a realtor and you say, I'm going to sell $1 million of real estate, which was one of the things that I did. I was like, I want to sell $1 million. And then I didn't. I was like, oh, okay, now what? Because I wasn't setting goals based on performance. I was setting goals based on, numbers and monetary. And what $1 million for some people, I talk to my friends who are realtors in like Dallas and Arizona, and they're like, yes, our houses sell at 175, so that's 4 or 5 transactions. For them, that's one easy. So it's important to have monetary goals, but what I would say is I think what's been more influential and more helpful to me, more just better, is to have goals based on calls, open houses, performances. Those are things that you can check off and you can feel good about, no matter if a new client comes from it that day or comes from it 30 days later. So my goal is to do at least 2 open houses every single month. This is part of my routine. We talked about my daily routine, but that's part of my monthly routine. It's on my goals. It's a part of what I do to be successful, because open houses get me in front of new buyers that I wouldn't normally have. They help and impact my social media. People can see that I'm working. They know that I'm productive. What it's really helped at is sellers can see how serious I am about helping people sell their house. They know that my open houses are going to be, I have some balloons. I don't know how to go up on this because I'm on this new device that is not that's just part of what I do. Some other realtors might look at it and think it's crazy because we don't really do them as much anymore, but I go all out for my open houses. And like I said, I think it helps my sellers see just how serious I am about selling house, the measures that I'll take to make sure that it gets done, the jobs get done. I always have like a really nice food tray or party tray. I bring snacks. I bring like individually wrapped treats and stuff for kids so that hopefully they don't eat in the house. It's like, you gotta take that. Bye-bye. Eating in the car with your parents, because I don't want them messing up the house. But I have kids, so I know that if I have a daughter, so I know that if I'm dragging her to an open house, those are little things that would make a big difference. And it makes people feel good about the house. It makes people feel good about making an offer. It makes people feel like, that the house was put together in a way the sellers care, the agent cares. And obviously for people who are not represented by a realtor, because that's what you want as a realtor. You want to do open houses and find people who are not represented by a realtor that are looking for a realtor, and that be new business for you. So open houses have been a big part of my business. I think that when I did the math, I think that I had 4 transactions that came out of open houses. So yes, I did a lot of them, but it was worth it. I definitely got my money back. I usually spend like $40 to $50, sometimes maybe like at the most I might spend $60 to bring like waters and drinks and snacks, balloons, things like that. So it's always worth it. my sellers can see. They go to my social media. Obviously, we're in a time where people do a lot of research before they do business with anybody, so they get a chance to get on there and see, do their lurking, do their research, and they see, like, I take selling people's houses very, very, very seriously, because as a new agent, I was kind of prepped, like, you'll probably work with a lot of buyers this year, and then later on people will trust you enough to sell their houses. But I was representing so many people at 175, and I felt like I had mastered what buyers were looking for at that price point. I felt like I knew what it was like to be on the other side, that I felt like I was going to be a great listing agent. And so I walked out with a lot of confidence, because I believe that I knew how to represent a seller and in a way that would get them the most for their money, because all sellers feel like in this market that they're gonna win and that they're gonna sell for more, and that might be the case, but I always take it up a little bit, and I'm just like, yeah, your house is going to sell, but how can we do this so well that you take whatever money we profit from and you build a whole new life with it? Or, we use this on the other side for the flip, or we know you're gonna lose, or we think that you might lose a little bit on the buy side because the market's so crazy. So how do I get you the most on the sell, so that way you break even, or at least feel good about what happened? So I take listings extremely seriously. When someone calls me and they are considering me to sell their house, I every single time, no matter if it's $20,000 investment property that hasn't been touched in years, or a $300,000 house. I have a big listing coming up next week. It's like, it always, sometimes I have to take a deep breath. Like, I'll sit in my car and I just have to, like, it's overwhelming sometimes, because I just feel so blessed and so fortunate. And I have to remind myself, like, I did the work, I went to the classes, I did the research, I went to every listing class that we had. Keller Williams has a whole network. It's kind of like YouTube for realtors. And I would say I feel pretty confident that probably, like, my first year of real estate, I probably had gone through like 70% of the videos that you can watch as an agent. Also, we have something called Mega Camp, which is like just tons of different videos and trainings all in like a week. I always commit myself to that. I feel like I've learned so much every time I've went through that. We have something called Bold, which is where a lot of times we get caught up not making the daily calls. So it's like several weeks where you commit to making like 100 calls or 20 calls or 50 calls or whatever in a very short period. So it's kind of like fasting. If you're a dieter, if you ever try to lose weight, it's kind of like fasting. It's like compressed time where you're just like, I'm going to give this my absolute all. And every time I do Bold, I feel so blessed and so energized. So I'm really thankful for my brokerage, obviously, because without them, there might have been times this year where I got out of production, or I just wasn't as focused. And every time that happened, we'd have some big training event, or we'd have a Bold, or we'd have a class, or we'd have something, and that's what pushed me to keep on going. So just staying, that's so important. That first year is just staying. Hopefully you have like a system or a plan to where you can focus on learning and training. I know a lot of people do it part-time at first, and that might make it kind of hard. I was a full-time agent, so I had that ability, but it doesn't get any easier when you become a full-time agent, because now I'm showing houses all the time. I have inspections, I'm in different cities, and so I might miss like big trainings that we have, and it's unfortunate because I really want to go to them, but I'm doing real estate full-time, so I get so busy. And so it's kind of just all about finding that balance, whether you're selling real estate full-time or you're working a full-time job and you're doing it part-time. Getting that education and going to the trainings will make you feel so much more confident, and it will really help you when it comes time to go ahead and get ready to get somebody under contract. So that's my advice as a first year realtor, to go to everything that you can to soak up that knowledge, because when you soak up the knowledge, you soak up the confidence. And when you get the confidence, that helps you when you do get a client, because you can get a client tomorrow, and if you don't feel like you're going to know what you're going to do with it, it takes you longer to call them back, and you drag your feet, and you have to call, multiple different realtors to try to figure out what to say. And so I had all the confidence in the world because I really felt like I had done the research and I was prepared. So yeah, goal setting. Yes, I do use social media. I use Canva for all of my designs. People ask me, that's a question people ask me all the time. I'm going to put a link to my social media, so if you haven't been following me, you can kind of see. I use Canva. I try to do a mix on my social media. Like I said, I do. Every time I have a home inspection, I try to post a home inspection. If I don't do it on my page, I'll do it in my stories and in my reels. And I just make every single day an opportunity to remind people that I sell real estate. So whether I post a picture in front of the brokerage, whether I post a TikTok of me viewing a house, I just constantly try and remind the people on my social media that this is what I do. I'll post pictures of my desk. I'll post pictures of just behind the scenes stuff. It lets people know that I'm working. It lets people know that I do this full time. It lets people know how serious and how committed I am. There are some days where I might be showing houses at 7 o'clock in the morning because that's what works for my clients. I've got a client who's buying virtually via California, so we're all over the place when it comes to communication. And honestly, it's something that I love to do, so I don't have a problem with it at all. I'm super blessed and fortunate to have the clients that even choose to work with me, so making the allowances time-wise is not a problem at all. So just that's what basically my big takeaways from my first year of real estate. Get as much research as you possibly can in, do the trainings. I love watching Brandon Mullerin on YouTube. He trains people on cold calling. He was a big resource for me because I don't really do a lot of cold calling. Every time I sell a listing, I do cold call. I call the neighbors and let them know, hey, I just sold your neighbor's house. And I always try to come from a place of contribution. I don't call them trying to beg them to let me sell theirs. I just let them know, hey, this house sold. Just want to let you know that this is how it's affected your property value. It's actually gone up. If you had thought about selling it, if you thought about refinancing or anything like that, I just want to let you know that this is what it went for $1 per square footage. Here's some pictures of it. Here's the listing. So that way you can decide, if your house looks similar to this one, this is where you could potentially be. I won't know until I actually come to your house and put my eyes and everything on the property. And that's how I try to that's how I get in the house. But it's true, because it's everybody will go off of the Zillow estimate, the Zestimate of what their house is valued. But until somebody like me, a professional who's in the market every single day, comes into the house and can touch it, see it, feel it, smell it, all of that, we can't really say how buyers will react to it if it does hit the market. The Zestimate is just, them kind of going off of what's going on around you. So I come from a place of contribution. I let them know we went on the market, we were under contract in 24 days, we had 9 offers, or I even will say, if you were to let me represent you, the first thing I could do was just call all of these other people who didn't get a chance to get in on this property and see if they'd be interested in looking at yours. And that just sparks the conversation, well, if you sold my house, where would I go? So yeah, and then you just being a resource for them on that side. That's about the only cold calling I do. Pretty much everybody else comes from open houses, referrals from other agents. I'm huge on my agent, my out-of-state agent relationships. I try to, especially every time we have a Keller Williams event, like Mega Camp or Bold or anything like that, I reach out to them, I send them my digital card. Hey, I know you might not know this because, if you're an Atlanta agent, you don't do much outside of Atlanta because it's so big and there's so much, and that's kind of your specialty. But in Arkansas, we're 30 minutes away from so many different cities. So I will call them and I'll let them know, or I'll send them a message and say, hey, I know that I've told you that I'm from Little Rock or that I live in Little Rock, but I also represent Conway, Jacksonville, Sherwood. I think out of all the houses I sold three houses in Little Rock, and everything else has been Jacksonville, Sherwood, Conway, Maumelle. So the majority of the houses have actually been outside of Little Rock. So I call people and let them know, because they might know somebody that's moving to Jacksonville or something like that, and they don't know that I serve that city as well. And then I always ask them, what's a good referral for you? So that way I know, like, if they're, if they're from Atlanta and they only deal with Atlanta, I don't want to tag them to something just Georgia, as a whole. So I try to figure out and build those relationships. I send them my phone number, we'll talk, like, do you do any goal setting? And we'll try to share information, because I've made this video really positive because that's where I'm at in my life. I'm full of positivity. I'm loving my life right now. I'm very thankful, but it is a very, very, very hard business. So if you're getting into this because you think it's going to be easy, you're in for a huge rude awakening. It's a very tough business. I have been able to really just grow a very tough skin. The good thing, the biggest benefits of working with me, I think, and the most positive thing that I bring to the table is that I've seen so many different situations, and I've had so many crazy transactions that there's nothing that I feel like I can't fix, or there's nothing really that I feel like I haven't considered a solution for, or that we can't find a solution for, or that I can't spin it in a way that works for my clients. So I've just had so many things come up, and I try to be 10 steps ahead of every transaction. That's why I leverage out a lot of contract stuff out to my TC, so that way I can really focus on what's going on with the lender, what's going on with title, what's going on with the buyer, what's going on with the sellers, my relationship with the agents, making sure that we're communicating throughout the entire transaction. Just being on top of that really helps a lot. But real estate is extremely difficult, and no transaction that I have ever had has been the same. They've all had their own ups and downs and just weird, quirky things that came up that, once I dealt with it, I was like, oh, okay, and I made notes. I added that tool to my tool belt. I've put in the sweat equity. So when my clients come to me, and they're wanting to work with me or get assistance from me, they know that I have dealt with a lot of different situations. Just being a first-time agent, I've done VA loans, I've done FHA loans, I've done conventional loans, I've done rural development loans, I've done down to a $25,000 property all the way, now up to $450,000. I've dealt with different lenders. I've, helped clients on flip properties, on investment properties. I've dealt with houses that, needed a little work. I've dealt with houses that were new construction. It's been a great year for me because I got to touch so many different things that now at this point I'm ready. I don't ever feel that hesitation anymore. It's like whatever my client wants to do, let's go. That's been a big bonus for me, is the confidence that I have now, having dealt with so many different transactions. So I talk my stuff. I'm to my own horn, and it's because I put in a lot of work, and I'm really proud of the work that I've done. And when my clients come to me and when people refer people to me, I make sure that they're taken care of. So this business is not what you think it's going to be. It's not TikTok videos. It's not HGTV. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of contracts, knowing legally how to protect your clients, what to explain. It's a lot of consulting. It's just really just so many questions that people will have, and answering them in a timely manner. It's just being on your phone 24/7, but the rush of getting someone under contract is like no other feeling in the world. And that's why I say I love being a listing agent. I love being a listing agent. I love that I have perfected in my mind what it takes to get a listing on the market in a very in a way that's going to make the seller win. I've got that down pretty well now. And I love that too, because when you're on the other side, it's just like you have a lot of the power as a listing agent, but also for me, it's like I'm on the buyer side all the time too. So I like to make sure that whoever does bring the buyers and even the agents whose offer doesn't win, because I'm on that side too, and it sucks in this market. Like you'll throw the book at a house for your client. You'll literally give the seller everything that they're asking for, and you think that you're going to win, and then someone will come up with a cash offer or waive an inspection, and then you're like, man, you got to keep looking, and the buyers are sad. So I'm on both sides of every transaction, but for me, it's like this year taught me so much about myself as a person, because I realized I'm super competitive. I've always been super competitive, but now it's just I'm so confident in what I do, and I really truly feel the artwork in the craft of selling real estate. And that's why I study it, and that's why I go to bed super early, and that's why I wake up my alarm goes off at 4:30, because I'm just so happy to be here, and I take it really seriously. So yeah, I hope that you're getting into this business with that same fire and that same tenacity. If you're getting into this business and you want to do it part-time because you have a great job, I have people on my downline that are like that too. I have someone who's a police officer, and he'll probably not go full-time agency anytime soon, but he's a very solid agent. He's a very strong agent. He's somebody that I would buy a house from just because his demeanor, his personality, he's so trustworthy. And so if you whatever your goal is in this business, if it's to sell one house a month because you do have a full-time, that extra income from your family is life-changing. And if your goal is to sell 3 or 4 because you want to have just enough to be able to still have a great life or fuel other businesses, and then if you're like me, which is I just really want to be the best. I really want to be the best single agent. I want to really clean up my social media. It's something that I do now on a certain level, and my goal for next year, I've got to get these that I have under contract closed. But once that's taken care of, you're going to see a totally different vibe from me. I really want to do all the things that I said I was going to do when I got into this business, which was make real estate accessible for as many people as possible. Just to take things up, just to be thought of as somebody who does things at such a level that there's just no comparison. And that's what I'm working on. I'm working on being the best, working on not being comparable in any way, shape, form, or fashion, as a listing agent, as a buyer's agent, as somebody who provides information to people just in general, whether you're buying next month or next year. I just want to be the best version of myself that I can possibly be. And I'm really excited for that, because it calls for everything to be turned up to the next level. My goal was 3 million, this year, and my goal was to cap, which I did, and then my other goal was 3 million, which as long as everything that is currently under contract closes and these 3 listings that I have come up go smoothly, like I know that they will, I'll be on pace for that. So I'm going to leave next year open as far as goal setting. I'm going to let it be I'm not going to really put numbers on it because, like I said, I'm going to be goal setting from activity. So how many calls am I making? How many open houses am I doing? How many podcasts am I guest hosting? How many videos am I producing? Things like that. How many listing appointments am I going on? How many units am I selling? And then if you do that, the numbers, they'll be there for sure. So that's my take on this first year of real estate. I hope I gave you guys enough information. We talked a lot, as always. I always talk too much. But if you have any questions about anything specifically, as always, you can comment on the video or you can email me directly. I get emails all the time based on the last video, and I'm trying so hard to make sure that I respond to them in a timely manner. Please forgive me if it takes me a little while. If you have any questions about becoming a real estate agent, whether it's in Arkansas or anywhere else, feel free to hit me up. It's been so great to talk to you guys, and I hope you have an awesome day, morning, evening, wherever you are. And thank you for tuning in.